All right, here we go. Game three. It's 1-1. We've seen Team Wales get buffed on one loss in all of their series so far. We'll see if they're able to continue this. We've got Sejuani making it through the draft. Sejuani is very, very strong at all stages in these games. They take the maximum, they dive. We also saw some proactive and exploitive paths from Sejuani, using flash as well as hex flash to get in, invade this camp, come here, take this, and gank. All right, so we've seen that. We'll see if there's adaptations to it. Important to notice it was done against Jax last time. Jax is a champion who doesn't use his ward in the early game because he needs to save it for ward hopping. But that said, can Jarvan now do the opposite to the Jax up in this lane? All right, is Sejuani going to go for any kind of play? Go for early red contests. Sometimes we see things like red into red. Love this Sejuani versus Jarvan matchup. They can both get around the map so quickly, and it's fascinating to see when it does happen. It looks like we're going to have standard starts plus a leash for this Jarvan. All right, so this is a big deal. Jarvan getting a little bit of a leash means that he's going to be able to take these two camps, and he's going to be about 6 seconds ahead. It also means that he doesn't need to use his smite on the first camp. All right, you're going to see Sejuani use it. Anytime you're solo on your camp, you should always smite. This is because you're saving yourself tons of extra time. All right, that's about 10 extra seconds if you're just auto attacking on that camp to get it from 600 to 0, depending on the champion. It can be significantly less, but compare that to just using your smite, getting level 2, and being a level 2 champion for longer. In this case, that means you get to immediately jump over, start fighting the Krugs, and now Sejuani's going to have a 3 camp move over for themselves. But you see the difference in the leash. Look where Jarvan's already at. All right, looking this. Now, going for a top side, check out this op. I want to see top lane. He opts for a 3 camp into red, which means he's almost definitely looking at top side right now. The question is whether or not Sejuani is going to skip anything to do it. One of the best answers you can do here is to actually just take all your camps while staring at this top lane wave state, tracking it as to what it's going. I wish we could see what's going on here, because based on where this is dictates whether or not the lane is gankable or not. You see Renekton kind of holding it in this position. That means Jarvan might have some angles. Look at the fact that Jax has a ward for themselves to try to buy themselves some time. Renekton surely pinged it, but Jarvan is going for an exploitative path instead, looking for 3 into 4 into reverse. Sometimes this can be a little bit slow, and you see the timing right here. There's a big wave. He might just come for the cover, but they're probably can go for the dive. You get the hit on Nautilus. A lot of people actually overreach for Xayah. The problem is that they get significant damage onto Rel to start. That means that they get 1. The problem with going on the support when you can't fully bring the AD carry out of the fight is that the AD carry is ripping into you. All right, and that whole time it means that they get damage back. The one issue is that you wish that this kill would go over to Xayah, that she can get all that more damage. That said, prior to first item, this is something we talk about. Prior to first item, I'm fine with supports, especially if they have high damage base kits. Getting the first kill so that they can get that early boots, that they can roam around the map. It's fine for your support to get that early one, because you can turn that into more lead in other places, but you have to do that. You can't just go back and say, hey, look, we're standing off face to face in bot lane. No, you don't want that. All right, we have a siege cannon coming in, which means that Sejuani might go for the dive. They've turned on their attack champions only. Artemis flashing over the Q from Sejuani, but we have Kai'Sa picking up, Xayah picking up the aggro and then flashing away. Beautifully done. There's 2 options when you go for a dive like that. You can either look for the aftershock. Okay, hold on. We'll watch the rest of this fight. See how much Team Wales are able to get for themselves. Beautifully positioned stun there. And they're able to get one back. Also, Xayah having used her flash. You can either use the aftershock or you can use the marksman, right? If you have a long range champion that can go in, you say, all right, I'll pull up the aggro and then I'll be the one to step back. A little bit early, punishing the fact that she did not have flash. This is a big deal. Xayah getting caught out means another solid play for Wales. Jace is going to go pick up this wave. This is well timed with the push in mid, right? You're making sure to go there before you teleport. Now Xayah's going to come, clean up this wave, and then they're going to switch fields, okay? This is the most common correction to a lost lane states, where you have to go and correct bad states for yourself. You're going to go off into a bot. You're going to push this wave out. Notice how Jace is taking another one because he's already here. Xayah will take the one that's collecting for her. They both push. They both go. This used to be a lot easier when the waves had different speeds. They used to be 6 seconds syncopated, but now they go at the same speed until 14 minutes. A little bit harder to get everything back for yourself there. And Beanche being saved by, looked like Triumph at the end. It also looked like maybe the Ignite was already popping off. Now Slater, let's see, probably best to just get out here. The wave would be coming back to you. If Slater just recalled in this position, they would have been able to come back with their money, with the wave coming to them. It would have been checkmate. All right, we talk about that a lot. Whenever you have a lane that's coming towards you and frozen towards you while you have a threat advantage, that's checkmate for the lanes. Xayah opting to try to fight for the wave gets punished for not having their flash. Also, we're not at the timer for level 6, so she doesn't have that self-peel for herself. Renekton taking over this matchup here in the top side. We've seen that this adaptation, similar to how we saw Camille versus Volibear 4 years ago at Worlds, we started seeing the Camille taking the grasps because of how strong she would be later. Kiaya doesn't get one back. Beanjay pulling the aggro, beautifully done. You see Grasp as an adaptation to make you competitive, but it's still not enough to win, but it just makes you get through the phase, saying, I will take over longer, you won't be able to fight through me. Sometimes we see Renektons in this situation actually go Ignite to consistently be able to answer Jax. The problem is in this highest performing ELO, right, at Pro Play at Worlds, they're just going to split you apart. They're going to force you to take your time to go answer, and then you're an Ignite champion playing in the side lane, which is not where you can ever afford to be. Look at this Nautilus last hitting mechanics. Beautifully done by Pallet. Using the auto reset on the first from the W to get that. Then the AoE has already hit the melee, so he knows that he needs to actually burn it for a little bit more, so he goes auto plus E, gets it to half health, turret hits it again, he gets that last hit. Then since he's put 1 point in E, it makes all of the range minions easy to hit. By the way, if you don't play Nautilus or if you're newer to Nautilus, they're generally maxing Q and then into W. They only put 1 point into E because 1 point in E is actually enough to always put the caster line into one hit death from a last hit after a turret hit. Okay, so you put the E on, the turret hits it, that puts this much health, and whoever's there will be able to get it, even if it's you, right? You can even just use your empowered W to get that hit on the ones. But as we just saw, Pallet just set up all the hits perfectly for the Xayah, and they were able to get them all. Big chunk damage. Now this time we see that was Q not empowered. If that were serrated Dirk, we would have seen a little bit more damage. Now we do see, right, this is a Sejuani Nautilus game, so that's why we see this, right? We're going to see this adaptation. Sometimes we see Kraken Slayers, sometimes we see Storm Razors, although it's not going to be this game, I don't think. There are a couple different adaptations. Let's see what we do versus a Renekton here. Clean. No, he's able to get off Xayah Burning Flash as well. Now they opt for using the Herald right away here, means that they actually want this Herald to die. So there's a couple different options, right? When you're going for this push, you can either try to take 2.5 turrets yourself, then you drop the Herald while you're going. That's the way to get the full turret. In this case, I don't expect Xayah to stay, because if you clicked on the turret right now, you'd see significant defenses. See how this wave is not doing anything to it? Because as you're killing it, the amount of threats near the turret plus the amount of plates are multiplied by the amount of plates that you've given, gives it exponential increases in stats. Very important for Renekton to turn the ultimate on early here. That starts building up your fury. It means you have more likelihood of having a big Q. Love how they almost did that. They almost had permanent crowd control uptime, meaning Renekton couldn't get anything off. But there was that one small window. He gets the Q. He's able to step back. It ends up costing Xayah her flash. We'll see. This is going to be another thing that they're going to try to target. We'll see if GAM is a little bit better at protecting it than they were last time. Now, I'm very happy to see Gigabyte Marines using Rift Herald with the carry in a rotation. We talk about this a lot, that the preferred way to get the Herald is to send a teleporter to bot lane. They tend to be strong enough in a 2v1. They can get dove, but that's fine because in the top lane you were able to get the kill. Plus, oh, that's the worst check mark ever. Plus the Herald means that you're able to get 3 plates, and importantly, you got 3 plates onto your carry. Kaisa was not able to get as much in the bottom side, but we do see that it was enough. This difference right here. Buying Berserker Greaves means that we don't have the upgrade. Kaisa will enjoy a little advantage for herself right now for the time being. Nautilus's perfectly timed stopwatch is online. That's interesting. Normally we see Hex Flash from Nautilus's. Going for the stopwatch means that you expect there to be a late early to early mid game fight that you want to try to win. You want to have that stopwatch in your inventory from that like 12 to 17 minute mark. Basically, you're trying to get spikes before that 21 minute mark where people are on 2 items. All right, this is where we have 2 items on almost everybody. So when you have perfectly timed stopwatch, you don't need to spend 750 on it in your build. Instead, you can say I'm spiked on 1 item. We very much want to play on 1 item. And if you look, right, look at all the champions and what they can do. That's what they're planning on. Sejuani spikes on 1, spikes on 1, spikes on 1, right? And they're going to be very strong with Jace into that early mid game transition. Right, see right here we see the difference in carry completed items means that Wales is able to get another one for themselves. Good job with the counter-strike. Something that you'd like to do, and these players do have sound effects on, by the way. They want to hear your audio cue is actually faster than your visual cue, and your visual field has so many things it's keeping track of that you want the audio cue to be nice and loud. So when you hear Renekton go like that, that means he's got his W ready. You respond instantaneously with your E. The duration of your counter-strike is approximately the same as his ability to get the stun off. So you basically just sit there, and if he does do it, it actually hurts him so much because that'll count as 2 or 3 auto attacks towards your counter-strike being empowered. Counter-strike, of course, getting stronger with every hit. Beautifully done by Nautilus here. Jarvan peeling in. Jarvan, basically the strongest champion in the meta here at level 6. Getting that big 6 off. They get the 1 pick. Rel contributing over the wall. Beautifully done. So still... No, we end up with a 2-for-1. 2-for-1. Jarvan plus completed item advantage. Jarvan often doesn't show how incredibly good he is because a lot of his power comes from the fact that you're shredding armor and you're increasing your team's attack speed. Those are 2 things that are not apparent with his spells, but they are happening. That's what makes him so good. Now, this is something that we think is going to be fairly common going into a second item tank. Jarvan's can play well with AD, it's true, but the role that they end up playing for their team is often to be engage plus tank, right? You want to sit there and survive as long as possible. So we're going to see 1 item like Gore Drinker. I don't know if we're ever going to see an adaptation that goes into full dank. If we do, we might see something with Umbral Glaive, okay? Umbral Glaive is very nice as a 1 item damage spike for Jarvan. It also lets him play for lane control, for vision control, and then you can build into tank with the rest of the build. It's very inexpensive, but it does mean that you come out with no health early. So we'll see if there ever comes up an adaptation that goes into tank, for example. We saw it last year and the year before at Worlds with full tank Jarvan, and we saw how impossible it was to kill. It. Just come up, I can step up in between you, I can peel your team. When you do go for this tanky follow-up, you can become less of a backline threat. You're not so much going for this. You're more trying to take the Jax who's jumping into your team and peel them off your line. Wales holding an area. Well, this is a foul by Levi. You can't be there. You've got Kia. Sorry, you've got Caddy in the bot lane. You've got no presence in this river. You've got no control over this Herald. It's not yours to take. And plus the super high threat of Rel. Like, look at all these champions. You walk into a bush against literally any of these champions and you're probably going to die. But that being said, it is Levi on Sejuani. So Levi's going to push things to the limit, and Sejuani is a champion that you can do that. We see this Radiant Virtue very often. This is probably going to turn into either Anathemas or Warmogs. Warmogs being a very common option to just say like, hey, like I'm just poking, I'm just looking around. You guys can hit me, that's fine. I'm gonna come back. That's how you maximize Sejuani's passive stats. Looking at how much ends up getting used. Beautiful synergy. And plus we have the free reset. The fact that there are 3 crowd control abilities used means that Kai'Sa was able to get her passive and her Q off together to deal significant chunk damage. And this is what you want coming out of a play like that, right? You've got Prio, they're coming out of their base. What are they possibly going to do? We've got enough time to push this turret and get the Herald in to crush it. Just like we saw last game, we expect them to now go inside out. You can control these areas, but you're only going to pick one. All right, you're going to pick one side to go into, and usually it's not this one because bot side is just not that important. I like this vision line that we have from blue team here, kind of preventing any further encroachment onto their side. Like we said, when you're behind and when you're playing defensively like this, you just want to get one safe spot on the map, one quadrant that you control. Don't try to control everything. Just have a very baseline vision here and then say like, hey, can we control this much of the map? All right, taking stock of items, we've got 288 on the tier from Jace. Jace is getting close to finishing that man immune. Once they do, they will have a significant damage burst. Let's see, we've got 3 versus 2 here. They might be able to make this play for themselves. They've managed to keep themselves one corner of the map and able to get a play, getting the Jarvan with his shutdown and Talia with their shutdown. That's 550 gold, 1150 plus the half 575. We're looking at a 1700 gold swing. Oh my goodness. 1725 gold into the pockets of GAM there. Plus 2 people dead means that they're going to get this turret. Now they're going to come over. They've got the numbers advantage. They also have the push prio here, which means that they should be able to get all of this. This is going to completely flip the script on this game. Jace has teleport. Things just got super, super exciting. How are you going to handle this if you're Wales? Now, one thing I will applaud them on right here. This ward on an ocean map, the most important ward you can place down. Getting a control ward in that bush. Now, what I don't like is that they put it so near the edge, so it will get seen by a blue team sweeper coming in this way. You'd like to have this control ward set back in this bush, and then you want, as the fight breaks out, to get another one here. The reason this bush is so important is because while this fight is breaking out, you can kind of recollect into this side safety. You know that you see them, they can't see you. That's what becomes such a tremendous advantage for those fights. All right, Q into R, direct hit onto Beanjay. They get the lockup, and Nautilus just waiting until Glory throws a spell saying, I'm going to wait till you lock yourself in an animation, and then I'm going to go. The moment I see you, boom, that's when the hook comes out. Beautifully played by Pallet. But that came from, like I said, they had one side of the map. And then Talia, you had Jarvan and Talia coming out to try to help each other for the push. Ended up both dying together, Romeo and Juliet style. And we'll see if the tragedy ends here for Wales. That can devastate your psyche on this. If you're trying to reset, okay, something bad happens in this high pressure situation. We've seen people at the highest level when mistakes are prone, they actually start visibly shaking. That's when their body is getting out of control. I won't go into the exact details of which hormones are going off and the activations that are happening in your body, but it's important to calm yourself down. Now, the proven fastest way, simple way to do that is 2 big inhales followed by a long exhale. All right, you go. And that combination is sort of saturating your CO2 output, making sure that you're getting better oxygenation. You're able to relax your body. So also just taking a moment to focus on breathing will allow you to come down from that elevated state and reset your baseline. And then you can come back up and optimize. Very easy to get super hyped on this stage when we're talking about worlds or bust versus a team that you are rivals with, right? You want this. This is the most that any of these 5 players has ever wanted anything. I guarantee it. They want this win more than anything. And if you feel like you're getting it, like you're getting a big win, and then you just make this colossal mistake, that suddenly it feels like it slips out of your hands, it can be very easy to just like, you're climbing up, and then you just feel like you fell off a cliff, and it's very easy to fall all the way to the bottom. And then from here, it even goes down further because you're like, oh no, what have I done? And you start worrying about that. Rather than going here, stop your downfall, reset, come back to your baseline and say, all right, I'll control my baseline and I'll try to work my way back up. And you try to create this again in your own head. That's how you create that psyche, how you can optimize. Very easy in a game like tennis where there's breaks in the game, much harder in a game like League of Legends where you might not have breaks. What you have to do is build this into your recall. All right, every time that you recall, every time that something goes great or goes poorly, that's fine. Enjoy it for that moment, but then take a moment, breathe for yourself, get yourself back to that baseline, and then come and do the next right thing. All right, so now GAM has wrested the control of this game. We see Nautilus into Artemis. They're trying to move. They end up all getting knocked up here. Talia Wall actually separates Binjay from the team, but it doesn't become a window. Nautilus doesn't have... that easily could have been an overplay. And that's what I'm talking about. You see Glory right there? Glory is probably the most, like... I don't want to say triggered, but it's probably on that roller coaster ride where they're up ahead. They think they're doing something good. Shoot, I've died. Wait, and I died trying to save the Jarvan. Things are like way worse than they need to be. Like, oh my God, what have I done? Can easily get into you. You think that you have to overplay and react. We saw that wall was probably just not needed. Could have even just been bad for your team. And that was looking like a solo queue Talia wall there. Slater getting knocked up, but uses the ultimate to try to peel out. There is no re-engage here into Xayah. Xayah does end up flashing forward, pays for it with her life. Glory, beautiful movements here, mirroring the Sejuani. Jace with a big shot from downtown. Love it. Love to see this fight play out. Now, this is where Jace is going to be very strong. If you can get them to stand by you in this position, like, yeah, you're excited by this. This is your spike. You're on Manamune, Last Whisper, and Duskblade. This is the strongest you'll basically be all game relative to the field. So this is a position that favors GAM. Not only that, but they just got the gold back for themselves. Perhaps Wales is saying this is our last chance. We are Jarvan, Renekton, Rel. Like, maybe we're going to get outscaled in this game. Kai'Sa even. Even though Kai'Sa's can have more scaling with the on-hit build. They do peel back. Good little movements. Good to see their position. See how they draw that battle line right here. When the feathers are out here, you can't step forward, right? There's very little counterplay, which is why Xayah didn't necessarily need to go up. Yes, she can flash forward and get her kill for herself, but now you notice no flash, no cleanse, and they weren't able to get anything because they didn't have any sustained damage left for the play. Instead, you could have just let them be almost dead, let them recall. Anytime that you kill someone, you're getting 450 gold, right? 300 plus the assist gold, you're going to get that 450, and you know they're dead for some amount of time. If you force them to recall, you don't get the gold, but you still know. Get this off the screen for you. Look at that pick, beautifully done. Finding Kai'Sa way off by herself. You know they're dead when you kill them. When you don't kill them, you know that they stepped back to safety, plus they recalled, plus they took time to get back on the map. This adds up, not to a full death timer, right? And the death also means that 25 seconds it's going to take them to get back on the map. Although the home guards changes that, right? It becomes about 20 seconds. When you don't kill them, they're basically still dead for 11 seconds, 12 seconds. It's not 30, but you still know they're gone. And it means that you actually get to go on the map with impunity. So I never like that reach play, especially when you have a kit that is meant to be anti-engage, disengage and re-engage like Xayah's. Artemis stepping into the wall. Oh my goodness. They just go right there with this ward right here. Plus they have the minion wave. Like, Kai'Sa was not going to be a cult going into that position no matter how you cut it. All right, we do have the scaling build from Kai'Sa. Rel is on one measly item here, significantly far behind the Nautilus, which is not, don't necessarily care about it, but when we talk about going in and whether or not you're going to immediately die back, We're going to see how much damage they take back. Now, they do get pallet. They are able to chunk through that. It looks like he didn't have his ultimate, so which means he didn't have his Radiant Virtue. The fight continues. Beautifully fight. Look at this position. Love how they're going, but you see how they tucked the ward, the fight into here. Artemis stepped back because there's a Jax threatening. We're going to get another chance to see that. You see how the fight moved into the river and where they have this control ward? It's no joke that this control ward won the fight. You start moving into that pocket. Kai'Sa's stepping back because she's afraid of the Jax. This loses your team the fight when you go and position yourself into that spot where you don't have vision. That is how important vision can be. Because there's no vision, Kai'Sa's unsure that she'll be able to continue the damage there. Ends up stacking. Your team gets syncopated. They start moving in different spots, right? You've got one person moving this way while one's moving this way. It means that you can no longer threaten between them. And we're going to see that fight again. All right, see this control ward. This paramount. You know what's in here as blue team. Enemy team does not. All right, it's easy to lose track of what's happening in the middle of the fight. Oh, I'm mistaken. They did get the control ward down in here. So they get the control ward down for themselves. Both are dead in this fight. But you see how they start moving the fight to the left. And Kai'Sa's moving this way to step away from the Jax. And ends up dying anyways. You hate to see that. Always consolidate for your team fights. When you're splitting apart, your team will lose. You either just lose one half or you lose both halves. But it is very, very rare where you can actually create a win for yourself. Only if you can convince enemies to chase you in two different directions, and then you can come back and bamboozle them, kind of jump on their head, punish them for coming after. But even then, you're still going to lose on the other side. All right, power play for the Baron is done. It's almost... It's interesting how the fights... I like that you're getting fights in to make sure that they can't siege your base. But we notice that these right here, these are very susceptible structures. This is going to be targets for GAM, also with this 6k gold lead, especially a large portion of it being on Jax. They're going to be very happy in this situation. Jax was able to survive this matchup, and now he completely takes over in the side lanes. Also, he's going to have an armor item for himself, which will help against this damage, against the people that can get to him. Now, you might be able to find Jax going a little bit too far. The problem is that between Spear of Shojin, Divine Sunderer, Fiendish Codex, you've got a lot of ability haste, which means that he will definitely be able to get 2 E's off in a fight. Combine that with the fact that he has the stopwatch means that he should be able to get 3 counter strikes off, basically meaning that it's going to take you at least 20 seconds to kill a Jax. If you're even able to kill him, he might be just that much stronger than you in these fights, not to mention that he counters a significant amount of what these two champions are trying to do anyways. So if your team wails, what are you trying to do to survive? Well, you do have 4th Dragon. The problem is you can't fight it. You will lose for this fight. I do appreciate this effort. You see how they've got this line of wards where they can control everything. See how they're all moving through this fog. Next step is to get mid-prio and to go through there. But what they've given up is this area here, which means that they can never truly get mid-prio because they're facing against Sejuani, Jace, Jax. All right, I love this idea though. Turning this into a death bush. Maybe they can get a spot. But the problem is who's ever going to come this way? Probably only ever Jax. And you may have gone a little bit too far. Will they try to consolidate onto this tri-bush? I expect them to hold this line right here. They should use another sweeper though. Sparta's trying to get them to bait over here. Oh, they step out. I don't like it. I would have much preferred that they wait for the team to come out and go for the bush. This is the only chance you have of winning this. Now they've baited themselves into a fight where they're absolutely getting crushed with their wallets. You see Jax into the middle of the team here. Using his stopwatch means he's going to have another E ready. And basically, I love the trap. The idea, the concept of a trap from Wales is great. But you need to remember that it was just a trap. You're not actually trying to fight against this team that has a 6k gold lead on you. You don't want this fight. You want to instead wait, try to see if you can get yourselves off into extra items. Let the game scale off. Let 6k, if it stays 6k 5 minutes from now, you're happy. All right, that's just better for you. You want to be on 3.5 items versus 4 instead of 2.5 versus 3. in cases like this. So absolutely don't like that Artemis ends up going hunting for here, especially since it's Sejuani, guys. Like, using Kaisa E is now on cooldown, plus the flash. They didn't get anything. They get chunked here. Just, this is never going to pair. This is never going to end well for them, especially since so much of that damage was on Sejuani. I will say, well played by Gigabyte Marines to just put out, dangle the potato out there, just this huge hunk of Sejuani. You know, baiting them into that fight, ends up securing everything. Now they've got the game in hand here. See a little bit of trade back. We'll see Nautilus collects some, willing to die here for the cause. Gonna get his ultimate down. Chain CC contributing to the fight, and then we just see the wallet diff coming in. Zaya is able to carry this game. Basically almost full build here. Huh? Okay. Oh, all right. There's only actually 2 deaths. So I don't mind Jax coming here and saying we're going to isolate and go for multiple different kills. But it's a little bit greedy from Kiaya. You didn't need this. You needed to be able to want... You needed to sorry. You needed to push the waves. You want to push the waves. Sejuani's here chasing... Oh, she's able to find him. You're able to stagnate these deaths. That's good in its own effect. The fact that they're able to find them both is great, because now you have syncopated deaths. But you've spent this much more resources, not to mention 1 minute out of your Baron timer, accomplishing nothing. You also don't have Jax's teleport available, which means that you have to wait for everybody to come back. Now you're sitting on this wave, and it looks like all they're going to get is this 1 turret for themselves. That's a mistake I see it from a lot of players. You come in, you shield tank, you're thinking, oh, I want to avoid extra hits, but you should really just hit the turret. Then you're in a better position for the next fight. It looks like they're actually opting for the all-in. Makes a lot of sense. They're 4v3. They're very, very strong here. They're able to go up. But if Wales is able to eviscerate the wave, they'll be able to survive. But now it's too late. Now Sejuani's just going to be able to peel with the ultimate, and they're going to go in and close off this game for themselves. Another counter-strike. You see how quickly that comes up. A little bit of killmongering here from GAM at the end, but all roads lead to Rome in the end. And get a beautiful win for themselves here in Game 3.